Powered Up in the Port City. This podcast is intended to educate, empower, enhance, enlighten, and uplift us all on behalf of our community. Through the guests joining us on this interview style podcast, we hope the messages shared will cause you, our audience, to be powered up too. Today, we are proud to bring back Mrs. Anitra Giroux, a master's level nurse, clinical educator, wellness coach. Mrs. Giroux's areas of specialty include mental health, rehabilitation nursing, and community health. And as we promised you last week, today we're talking about the pillars of hormonal balance. And we're going to now turn it over to Mrs. Giroux and let her get us started with this very important topic. Thank you again, Mr. Giroux, for being with us. We're excited to hear more about what it is you have to teach us and to educate us on hormonal balance.
Thank you for having me again. I am going to start off with my disclaimer.
Thank you so much.
This discussion is for education. It is not intended to cure, treat, or diagnose any condition. You should always consult your physician for further evaluation. All
Very
right,
good. That's
so
very important for our audience to hear that.
definitely. So last week we talked about just the foundation of hormonal balance and just the meaning. We learned about some basic hormones that you should be mindful of as you transition into um, adulthood, as you go through this journey. We talked about cortisol, progesterone, and testosterone. So those were the big three, as we stated. And so now we're going to talk about how to keep those in balance. And so there are pillars, if you will, or I like to call them the natural doctors, the doctors that we were born into. Okay, you have nutrition, you have movement, you have stress management, and you also have sleep hygiene. And sleep hygiene kind of goes before stress management.
You said
Okay.
sleep hygiene.
Sleep hygiene, and we'll get into that, but
Okay.
it's a routine.
Okay.
Our
That's an
bodies have to
interesting
have,
topic.
yep,
Okay.
our bodies have to have a certain amount of sleep to function properly. It's a routine, just like you would do your hygiene, your dental hygiene, physical hygiene. You have to have a sleep hygiene routine as well.
Okay.
All right. So again, those pillars are nutrition, movement, sleep, and stress management. All right. So we kind of talked about it last week with our hormones. Insulin is one of those hormones that have to be regulated as well. So that's where your nutrition comes in. Insulin is a master hormone. It helps regulate how your body uses energy. And when blood sugar is consistently high, the body produces more insulin to compensate. Okay. And I know that's a lot of words, but basically, what we eat, the things that we put in our body affects our insulin. Blood sugar balance is like the main character. Think of that as the main character. It's the hormone insulin. It's the key. The key to regulating your insulin is to eat whole foods. What are whole foods? Your fruits, your vegetables, your lean proteins, your grains, trying to stay away from processed foods and excessive sugars. Okay, you also want to eat foods high in fiber, and you also want to eat healthy fats. These nutrients get into our body, and we also need various nutrients such as magnesium, B vitamins, and omega 3s. So
Okay.
I have a list of some hormone balancing foods that you want to consider and eat. All right. And then, right, you have for blood sugar and insulin support, you want to eat your leafy greens. Those are your spinaches and your kales. I know some people like to do it in like a green smoothie. As much as you can eat it in its natural form is great because that's where you're going to get the most nutrients and the most minerals. Sweet potatoes are great. for blood sugar balance, not necessarily your white potatoes, but you can eat those in moderation. Whole grains such as oats and brown rice, legumes, otherwise known as beans, chickpeas, black beans, lentils, and also cinnamon is very, very good for insulin support. Okay, so you can sprinkle that on different things. I put it in my coffee.
Cinnamon
Cinnamon.
in
It's
your
just an
coffee.
extra, yep, it helps
Okay.
with insulin support and blood sugar control.
Okay.
All right. So don't forget the cinnamon. All right, foods for estrogen balance. Remember, we talked about the big three. So I'm going to be talking about foods that can help support that. You have your flaxseed oils, okay,
Mhm.
or flax seeds. That also comes in a herb you can put into some things like smoothies, things like oatmeal in the mornings.
Mhm.
Broccoli, your cruciferous veggies, as they say. Broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, those are really good for estrogen balance. Berries, berries are my favorite. Because of blood sugar control, not able to eat a lot of fruit because for me particularly, it does spike my blood sugar. So berries are kind of low, have a low glycemic index, and they're very good. They have also antioxidant properties as well. Antioxidant helps with cancer fighting. Okay. Turmeric. Turmeric again. Uh, Herbs and spices are your friend. Shake them in, and I put them in everything basically. Soups. I put them in my eggs. I just I shake turmeric in anything I can. Put it on my avocado. Okay. And then you want to have green tea. Green tea is very good for estrogen balance. And it's a good alternative to coffee if you can't drink coffee as much.
So speaking of turmeric, I've seen more and more and more about turmeric and cinnamon just recently.
Mhm.
Does the turmeric typically take on the flavor of whatever you're adding it to, or does it have its own natural flavor all by itself?
It has its own natural flavor. It is a I guess a powerful herb. Like you can it does add a boldness to your food. It
Okay.
enhances the food.
Hmm.
It also has a lot of anti-inflammatory properties. So if you're having like joint pain, body pain, it's really good for anti-inflammatory use as
Okay.
well.
I'm adding turmeric to my grocery list right now.
You should. Joints, it's a very good herb to have in your toolkit, as we said.
Okay.
All right. Things that foods that enhance progesterone support. We talked about that's one of the big three. All right, you have vitamin C food. So you do want to eat your oranges, your kiwis, bell
Mhm.
pepper to season your food. Zinc, you want foods that are high in zinc. So that's your pumpkin seeds and your chickpeas. All right. And then you want to have magnesium rich foods such as dark chocolate. So, not saying
Yes.
you can't have any something sweet, but you want to choose your dark chocolate and maybe like a handful of nuts and berries, and that be your dessert versus that piece of chocolate cake.
I like the way you just eased it in when you said a handful,
A
which means,
handful. You want to
yes, got to limit those
put, yep,
portions.
portion control. And that's how you can do it without breaking out the measuring cups or anything like that. If it can fit in your palm of your hand, that's usually an acceptable portion size.
Okay.
Okay. And then you want to have almonds and avocados. All those foods are rich in antioxidants. I'm sorry, magnesium rich foods, as well as healthy fats. All right. And then our last one is cortisol. Cortisol, that's our last of our big three. You have your fatty fish. That's when you get into eating your salmon, sardines, mackerel. Those things are good in for cortisol and stress reduction. Chia seeds. I know people have been saying add chia seeds to your water or to your oats. Those things also help with your appetite suppressant as well as for cortisol control. Ashwagandha, you can have that in a tea or you can take a supplement. Again, that reduces your stress. Ashwagandha is a really good supplement to take to reduce stress.
Okay.
Again, avocados and dark leafy greens, all of those again are rich in magnesium and they help with your cortisol stress reduction. They help lower those levels. You want your cortisol levels to be low. Right. And then you also want to pay attention to your thyroid. Um, I know you hear your thyroid is overactive. You lose a lot of weight, which is what you think will be good, but it's not necessarily good. Again, you want that to be in balance.
Mm-hmm.
And then if it's too low, then you typically gain weight. So you want a good thyroid function. So you want to have foods rich in iodine, such as eggs, some good healthy salts. They have different salts, Celtic salt, sea salt, different things like that. Selenium rich foods. Selenium rich foods are things like Brazil nuts or seeds, like sunflower seeds. That helps with thyroid support. Eggs help with thyroid support, and also things like yogurt. You want to have a good probiotic for thyroid support as well. So yogurt, probiotics for your gut health.
Okay.
All right.
So before you conclude this particular section talking about the first one out of the four, the nutrition, remind us again of the big three.
Okay, but the big three were
Mhm.
your estrogen, progesterone, and cortisol.
Okay.
And then we also added a couple of supporting actors, which is your
Exactly.
insulin and your thyroid support.
We're tying it all together. Okay.
Yes. And then the insulin and thyroid support had to, you had to add that for your blood sugar regulation and different foods that can support that hormonal balance for you.
This takes us right back to something that you taught us last week also when you said it all works together. It's all
In
interconnected.
concert, yes, it's a
Mm-hmm.
dance.
Yes.
The next thing we're going to talk about is movement, getting movement. That's kind of one of my favorite things. Movement. You want to do gentle exercise versus overexertion. Sometimes people think exercise and think they have to do all this cardio and have to lift all these weights, do all these burpees, uh, mountain climbers, and all this strenuous exercise. And at some points, that has its place, but you do want to just get your heart pumping,
Mm-hmm.
circulation moving. That will all help regulate your blood sugar as well. All right. So gentle exercise like walking 7,000 to 10,000 steps a day.
Mm-hmm.
That
And
will
while
help.
that sounds like that is an enormous number of steps, you can reach 7,000 steps rather quickly. I've learned that just recently.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Committing to a time to walk. You can break that up into sections. I teach school, so on my planning period, I will go out if I handle any business, I will go out and do like a 10 to 15 minute walk.
Mm-hmm.
Then I may on like if I have a lunch or if I have lunch duty, the students will see me do some laps around the the area. That helps gets in those steps. And then later on that day, I might commit to a 30 to 45 minute walk. And
Mm-hmm.
like you said, those steps, those little changes or that little effort will add up. And
Mm-hmm.
next thing you know, you'll have 7,000 to 10,000 steps a day. And 7,000, I know people normally would lean towards that 10,000, but 7,000 steps a day consistently, at least 5 days a week, will help you maintain and manage your hormones as well as your weight.
Good.
With diet, of course.
The steps alone won't do it, is what you're telling us.
Correct.
Okay. And
All right.
again, you said we can start off with the gentle aspect, and as you become more comfortable, then you can increase it but you know your body, and it's important to pay attention to your body.
Definitely. And again, be gentle. We talked about giving yourself grace. So I'll use my mother as an example. I'm getting all these 10,000 steps, and she's like, I could barely get 4,000 steps. So I was like, okay, let's do a plan. Let's do a plan,
Mhm.
4 weeks. Okay. So you can do 4,000. And then just every week, let's keep adding steps until
Mhm.
you get up to those 7,000 steps. So now she's just crushing her goals. She's constantly getting them and sending me her steps. But it all started with starting where you are and building from there.
Exactly. Exactly. Okay. Very
You
good.
also want to add some resistance training or some strength training. You can get something like a resistance band. Even if you don't have free weights in your house, you can get canned goods. Okay. And just start working those muscles. You could do body weight exercises where you're doing squats. You just want to work those muscles. And again, that helps with blood sugar regulation as well as hormonal support.
I heard someone once say their muscles had been in hibernation long enough. It was time to wake them up.
Definitely. And as we age, we know, our muscle mass decreases, and again, those hormonal changes can affect our bone health, our bone density.
Hmm.
So you definitely want to be proactive and do some type of resistance training to, I always say, combat it, kind of fight against it a little bit. We embrace aging, but we want to age gracefully.
Yes, definitely. Hmm.
So that's pretty much it. You want to, I could go on and on about exercise. You want to get at least 150 minutes a week,
Okay.
30 minutes a day of some type of movement and exercise. It's simple as that. And then we talked about the simplest way to do that is to get to stepping, start
Hmm.
walking,
Put some boots on the ground.
boots on the ground.
Okay.
That's right. And you want to make
Uh-huh.
a conscious effort to do that every day.
Okay.
All right, let's kind of switch gears and talk about sleep hygiene.
This is the one that I'm very interested in hearing about. Sleep hygiene. Okay.
All right, we want to get at least 7 to 9 hours of sleep a day. And
7 to 9 hours.
if you can,
Wow.
because you want to work on your cellular health. When we sleep, the body repairs itself. Okay. You want to not damage those cells. You want to be in good cellular health. Again, hormonal balance plays a role. You want to have a sleep hygiene routine. You want to stick to a sleep schedule. So I had to give myself, our parents, they gave us a bedtime, right? We had to get into bed. Well, as adults, we need to do that as well. So you want to stick to a sleep schedule. Go to bed and wake up at the same time every day to keep your circadian rhythm in sync. You always hear about babies, they have their days and their nights mixed up. Okay.
Hmm.
And sometimes it won't be perfect. Again, give yourself some grace, but we do want to keep our circadian rhythm in sync. Naps do count. So if you don't get that 7 to 9 hours, but you get an opportunity to nap for 15 to 30 minutes, um, just to kind of repair the body and increase your mental clarity, go ahead and do that. Take that time.
Okay.
All right, you want to block out blue light at night. So that means put your phones away. No
Hmm.
mindless scrolling in the dark when you're trying to relax your body and calm your mind and go to sleep. Tablets, bright lights, you want to reduce that for at least 1 hour before you go to sleep.
Okay.
All right. You want to eat a blood sugar friendly dinner. So you want to eat things like protein, healthy fats, fiber. You don't want to eat anything too sugary to prevent sugar crashes at night and trigger your cortisol. Because even when you're sleeping, remember your cells are repairing itself. So if we've eaten something, our body's working hard while we're sleeping, and our body's not resting like it needs to, because it's
Mhm.
working to break down what we've put into our body before bed. All right. This is hard. This was hard for me, but you want to limit caffeine after 2 p.m. Caffeine can linger in our system for hours and block sleep inducing a hormone called adenosine. So we're not gonna fall asleep as easily. Our mind will still be awake.
That is so interesting hearing you say that because I'm one of those that if I've had a really, really rough, stressful day, I've been known easily to have a nice hot cup of coffee and then I can just turn over and go to sleep like a baby. So,
We
but
want
what
to try
I'm
some
hearing,
herbal tea.
herbal tea instead.
It's usually
Okay.
the warmth that you're looking for, the comfort.
Mm-hmm.
So herbal tea, even decaf coffee, which I've heard decaf coffee still has a little bit of caffeine in it, doesn't have as much. So even if, again, give yourself grace, just start with the decaf and then work your way down.
I think I'll try the green tea.
Green tea, there you go.
Okay.
All right, you want to avoid alcohol before bed. A lot of people, again, they unwind with a glass of wine or something before bed. Um, It may help you fall asleep faster, but it disrupts your deep sleep, that restorative sleep that you need later in the night with
Okay.
alcohol. All right. Make sure you have a wind down routine. Some people exercise. They find if they exercise in the evenings, they sleep better at night. You want to have a wind down routine, whether that's like taking a nice hot shower, putting on that lotion. I use that stress lotion from Bath and Body Works with the lavender, or I use lavender oil.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Journaling, reading, a warm bath, all of that, it gives your body signals that it's time to unwind, relax, and prepares your body for sleep. And then you want to make sure that you get sunlight, enough sunlight. Sunlight earlier on in the day produces or boosts your body for melatonin later, the natural melatonin to help you relax and sleep. So that's why they want you to get out, walk, go
Mm.
into nature. Okay, that helps with your melatonin. And then if you do need to take any type of supplements, magnesium glycinate is a good supplement to help promote sleep. And then, of course, melatonin, but under a provider's guidance, can help support your sleep quality. And the last thing we're going to talk about is stress management, managing your stress, managing your cortisol level. So, we're going to get into some specific techniques in the next segment, but you definitely want to have some tools in your toolkit to help you go from 10 back down to 0 fairly quickly. We're going to talk about some breathing techniques that you can do. You also definitely want to go into nature. Fresh air can help you clear your mind. Again, release those endorphins to help you feel better and to increase your mood. It helps with your stress management hormones. That actually lowers your blood pressure, and it boosts your moods. Like, again, taking a short walk, sitting under a tree. I'm a tree hugger. I know people call me a hippie sometimes, but actually hugging a tree helps. Grounding, walking barefoot on a grassy area or a sandy area, that does help. Also, journaling will help as well. Writing down, I call them do a brain dump.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
What's making me feel overwhelmed right now? What's one thing I can release control of for today? What am I grateful for in this moment? Just kind of doing a mind dump and then centering yourself can really help with stress management and
Mm.
hormone balance. Because again, if you are stressed, one of your big three is elevated. I have a quiz, pop quiz. Which one of the big three is elevated? Your stress adapter, your stress hormone. It's
Yep,
that cortisol.
that cortisol, right, for
That's
sure.
elevated.
Hmm.
So again, we've talked about the six pillars. It sounds simplistic, but when again they work together to help it bring us in balance. You had your nutrition, you had your movement, you had your sleep hygiene, and you also had your stress management. When you balance those together, you can be at your best self and at your optimal health.
So we're doing a lot of in the beginning when we talked about the big three, and now we're talking about the pillars, the main pillars. So everything again, it's balanced and bright. So
Balanced and
it's all
bright.
explaining to us how we can bring so much of it into balance. And the numbers that I've heard tonight that have just blown me away is telling me that I need between 7 to 9 hours of sleep. I've got to wrap my head around that.
7 to 9 hours. When we were younger, we could operate off of less and still
Hmm.
function at a pretty optimal level. But again, 35 and up, we start to notice some hormonal changes. So we need
Hmm.
to allow our bodies to repair itself properly.
Again, Mr. Rowe, you have taken us through an educational experience. You have certainly empowered us to know how to take better care of ourselves. We have to plug in our own chargers for our own personal
Mhm.
well-being. And you've enhanced us and enlightened us, and of course, uplifted us to know that this is our kingdom and we're responsible for it. So once again, we're very excited to have you with us and to have you sharing so much of your knowledge that is definitely your passion. It comes through in your conversation. So, our audience, we are encouraging you to join us yet again for episode 3. And Mr. Rowe, give us a quick little commercial that will tell us what we're to expect in episode 3.
Well, this time we're going to be more interactive. We're going to learn those different techniques. We're going to practice them together. We're also going to get a few resources that you can refer to in the future if you feel like you need to reach out to an organization or a particular practitioner to support you in your journey.
Wonderful. Well, we're already excited about episode 3. And again, this is Powered Up in the Port City. Mr. Rowe, thank you again for sharing your time and your expertise with us. And we're already excited about the next episode. Thank you again for joining us.
Thank you.